All of Us Are Dead is a Korean zombie horror drama series. It came out on Netflix on January 28, 2022. The show is based on a Korean webcomic called Now at Our School. The webcomic was written by Joo Dong-gun, and it was published online from 2009 to 2011. Many people around the world watched this show and loved it very much. The story is about a group of high school students who are stuck inside their school when a zombie outbreak begins. The zombies start spreading very fast inside the school building. The students must fight to stay alive and try to escape from the school. Outside the school, soldiers, police, and government officials try to decide what to do to stop the spread of the virus. The show has 12 episodes. Each episode is about 1 hour long. The show mixes a lot of different feelings together. There is fear, sadness, friendship, love, and courage. While watching it, you will feel many emotions at the same time. That is one reason why so many people loved this show. The show was directed by Lee Jae-kyu and Kim Nam-soo. It was produced by JTBC Studios and Film Monster. The main cast includes Yoon Chan-young, Park Ji-hoo, Cho E-hyun, Lamin, Yoo In-soo, Lee Yu-mi, Kim Byung-chul, and many others. All of these actors and actresses gave very strong performances. All of Us Are Dead became one of the biggest Korean shows on Netflix in 2022. It was watched in over 90 countries. It stayed in the #1 spot on Netflix for many weeks in many different countries. Critics and fans praised the show for its strong story, good characters, and exciting action scenes. The show received so much love that Netflix confirmed a second season would be made. In this document, we will explain the entire story of All of Us Are Dead from beginning to end. We will talk about every main character, every important scene, and every big moment in the show. We will also explain the deeper meanings behind the story and what the show is trying to say to its audience. Everything will be written in basic, simple, and easy to understand words, so that everyone can enjoy reading it. Quick guide. Episodes at a glance. Before we dive deep into the story, here is a simple guide to all 12 episodes. This will help you understand the flow of the story. Episode 1, The Virus Begins. A science teacher creates a strange virus. A student gets bitten. The virus starts spreading in the school. Students are trapped inside. Episode 2, Chaos in the School. More students turn into zombies. The main group of friends tries to stay together. They hide and try to find a safe place inside the school. Episode 3, Survival Inside the School. The group finds shelter in a classroom. They make tools to fight zombies. They try to send messages to the outside world for help. Episode 4, The World Watches. News of the outbreak spreads. The government and military begin to respond. People outside are worried about their children who are still inside. Episode 5, Hard Choices. The group faces very difficult situations. Some students are lost. Conflicts begin between different groups of survivors. Episode 6, New Dangers. A new type of zombie appears which is more dangerous. The students must rethink their plans for escape. Episode 7, Fighting to Escape. The survivors plan a way to escape the school. The military sets up a boundary zone outside. Things get very complicated. Episode 8, Sacrifice and Loss. Some characters make great sacrifices for others. Many emotional moments happen. The group loses important people. Episode 9, The Outside World. We see more of what is happening outside the school. The government debates big decisions. Survivors on the outside try to help. Episode 10, Desperation. The situation becomes very desperate. Food and supplies run out. Zombies keep coming from all sides. Episode 11, The Final Stand. The survivors make one last big attempt to get out. Many fights happen. The emotional climax of the show occurs. Episode 12, The End and New Beginning. The story reaches its conclusion. Some survivors make it out. The world looks very different. A new future begins, but it is uncertain. To understand the story well, we first need to know the main characters. There are many characters in this show, but some are more important than others. Let us meet them one by one. The students of Hyosun High School. Lee Chong-san, played by Yoon Chan-young. Lee Chong-san is one of the most important characters in the show. He is a high school boy who is kind, brave, and very loyal to his friends. He is not the smartest student in his class, but he has a very big heart. He loves his friends deeply and will do anything to protect them. He has had feelings for his childhood friend Anjo for a very long time, but he is too shy to tell her. Chong-san's mother runs a small restaurant near the school. He often helps her with work after school. He is a normal, everyday teenager who suddenly finds himself in an extraordinary and terrifying situation. As the story goes on, Chong-san grows from a regular boy into a true hero. His courage and willingness to sacrifice himself for others make him one of the most beloved characters in the entire show. Chong-san also has a complicated relationship with Gwi Nam, a bully from school who becomes a very dangerous half-zombie. Their conflict runs through much of the later part of the show and leads to one of the most dramatic moments in the final episodes. Nam Anjo, played by Park Ji-hoo. Nam Anjo is Chong-san's childhood best friend and his love interest. She is a sweet, caring, and gentle girl. She is also very brave, even though she does not always believe in herself. Anjo's father is a firefighter, which becomes very important later in the story because he is one of the people trying to rescue the students from the outside. Anjo cares very deeply about the people around her. She feels a lot of pain and sadness when people she loves are hurt or killed. She represents the emotional heart of the show. Watching her go through the zombie outbreak is both heartbreaking and inspiring. She shows that even ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they have to. Anjo and Chong-san's relationship is one of the most tender and touching parts of the show. Their friendship, which slowly grows into something deeper, is something many viewers found very moving. Choi Namare is the class president of the main group. She is smart, serious, and responsible. She comes from a wealthy family, and at the start of the show, she seems a little cold and distant from the other students. She does not mix easily with others because she is always focused on her grades and doing well in school. However, as the zombie outbreak happens, Namare shows her true character. She becomes a strong and capable leader who helps guide the group through many dangerous situations. She develops feelings for another student, Lee Soo-hyuk, and their relationship becomes a very important part of the story. Namare also has a very special and dramatic storyline. She gets bitten by a zombie but does not fully turn into one. She becomes a half-zombie, which means she has some zombie abilities like better hearing and smell, but she still keeps her human mind and feelings. This makes her character very unique and interesting. Her story asks the question, what does it mean to be human? Lee Soo-hyuk, played by Lamin. Lee Soo-hyuk is a tall, handsome, and very athletic student. He used to be a fighter and was involved with some rough people before the story begins. But he changed himself and became a better person. He is brave, strong, and deeply protective of the people he cares about. Soo-hyuk falls in love with Namare during the outbreak. Even when she becomes a half-zombie, he refuses to give up on her or treat her like a monster. He sees her as a person, not as a zombie. His love for Namare is unconditional and very beautiful. He becomes one of the strongest fighters in the group and is always at the front when danger comes. Yoon Gwi Nam, played by Yoo In-soo. Yoon Gwi Nam is the main villain among the student characters. He is a bully and a terrible person even before the zombie outbreak begins. He is cruel, selfish, and does not care about hurting others. When the outbreak starts, instead of trying to help people, he uses the chaos to do even worse things. Nam gets bitten by a zombie, but, like Nam-Ra, he does not fully turn. He becomes a half-zombie with great strength and the ability to heal quickly. However, unlike Nam-Ra, he completely chooses to be evil. He becomes completely focused on killing Chong-san, whom he blames for something that happened earlier in the outbreak. Nam is one of the scariest villains in the show, not just because he is a half-zombie, but because he was already a monster as a human being. He shows what happens when a bad person is given great power. Park Mi-jin, played by Lee Yu-mi. Park Mi-jin is one of the most memorable and loved characters in the show. She is loud, funny, tough, and incredibly brave. She is not afraid to speak her mind, and she fights harder than almost anyone else in the group. Mi-jin becomes one of the strongest warriors among the students, using archery skills to fight zombies from a distance. Mi-jin's humor and energy bring light to very dark moments in the story. She represents the spirit of never giving up, no matter how bad things get. Her friendship with Hari is one of the most genuine and sweet relationships in the show. Viewers loved her so much because she was real, funny, loud, and heroic all at the same time. Choi Hari, played by Ha Sung-ri. Choi Hari is the captain of the school's archery team. She is skilled, calm under pressure, and a natural athlete. Her archery skills become a huge advantage in fighting zombies. She and Mi-jin are best friends, and they support each other through everything. Hari's character shows the importance of staying calm and using your skills even in the worst situations. She does not panic easily, and she thinks before she acts. This makes her a very valuable member of the survival group. Kim Cheol-soo is not a student but a very important adult character. He is a science teacher at Hyosun High School. He is the person who accidentally created the zombie virus. His role in the story is very complicated and sad. He was trying to help people, but what he did caused a terrible catastrophe. We learn about his backstory through flashbacks and scenes spread through the show. Understanding why he made the virus helps us understand the bigger story and the moral questions the show is raising. Was he a bad man? Was he a victim? The show lets the audience think about these questions. Outside characters. Nam So-ju, Onjo's father. Nam So-ju is Onjo's father and a firefighter. He loves his daughter very much and spends the entire show trying to find a way to save her. He works with the rescue teams and other emergency workers on the outside of the school. He is brave and determined. His storyline shows us the perspective of the parents and rescue workers who are desperately trying to help. Song Jae-ik. Song Jae-ik is a police officer. He is tough, experienced, and a realist. He works on the outside during the outbreak, and his perspective shows us what the authorities are dealing with. He struggles with the decisions being made by the government and military. He is a character who tries to do the right thing even when the system around him makes it difficult. Assemblywoman Park Eun-hee. Assemblywoman Park is a government official who becomes very important in the later parts of the show. She has a personal stake in the outbreak because her own child is inside the school. She uses her political power to try to help, but also shows how complicated and sometimes selfish political decisions can be when a crisis happens. The beginning. Where did the virus come from? To understand the whole story, we must start at the very beginning. The zombie virus in all of us are dead did not come from nowhere. It was created by a human being with a very sad and complicated reason. The science teacher and his son. Before the show starts, there is a backstory about the science teacher, Kim Cheol-soo. He is a biology and science teacher at Hyosun High School. He is a quiet, dedicated man who cares deeply about science, but he has a very personal reason for creating the virus that changes everything. His son was being badly bullied at school. The bullying was very serious and caused his son great pain and suffering. The boy was not able to fight back or stand up for himself. As a father, Cheol-soo felt helpless watching his son suffer every day. He wanted his son to be stronger, tougher, and able to protect himself. Cheol-soo is a scientist, and he began doing research into something called the Jonas virus. This is a fictional virus in the show that he discovered and began studying. The Jonas virus is based on the idea of the Ophiocordyceps fungus, which is a real fungus in nature that infects insects, takes over their brains, and controls their behavior. Cheol-soo was inspired by how this organism could change the behavior of its host. He thought about how he could modify a virus to make his son braver and stronger. He wanted to create something that would remove fear from a person. He believed that if someone had no fear, they could stand up for themselves and not be hurt by bullies anymore. Experimenting on animals. Cheol-soo started his experiments in secret. He worked in a small laboratory he set up inside the school science room. He began by testing the virus on small animals. The results were sometimes encouraging but also sometimes frightening. The animals that were infected became aggressive and showed no fear. But they also showed very strange and dangerous behavior. He continued his research, believing he could refine the virus and make it safe. He was so focused on helping his son that he did not fully consider the terrible consequences that might come if something went wrong. The first human infection. At some point, the virus jumped from animals to humans. The exact chain of events is explained through different scenes in the show, but essentially a student at the school came into contact with an infected animal or the virus itself. This student was the first human to be infected with the zombie virus. This first infection was the beginning of everything. Once a person was infected with the Jonas virus, the virus took over their brain and body. The infected person lost their human thinking and became something else entirely. They became aggressive, lost the ability to feel pain, and began biting others to spread the infection. The virus spread through biting. When a zombie bites a person, the virus passes through the saliva into the new person's blood. The new person then quickly transforms into a zombie as well. This is how the outbreak began and how it spread so rapidly through the school. What the Jonas virus actually does. The Jonas virus does several things to the human body and brain. First, it removes all fear from the infected person. They have absolutely no sense of danger or self-preservation. Second, it makes them very aggressive. All they want to do is bite and attack other living beings to spread the virus. Third, it greatly increases their physical strength and makes them resistant to pain. A zombie in this show can take a lot of damage and keep moving. Fourth, and most interestingly, the virus sometimes does not fully take over. In a very small number of people, the virus and the person's existing will to live seem to fight against each other. These people do not fully turn into zombies. They retain their human mind but gain some zombie physical abilities. These are called half-zombies in the show. Nam-Ra and Gwi-Nam are the two examples of this in the main story. What determines who becomes a full zombie and who becomes a half-zombie? The show suggests it might have to do with the strength of the person's will to survive, or perhaps something in their biology. But it is left a little mysterious, which makes the concept even more interesting. Episode 1. The day it all started. Episode 1 is where we meet all the main characters and where the zombie outbreak begins. It is a very important episode because it sets up everything that follows. Morning at Hyosun High School. The episode begins on a regular school day at Hyosun High School. It is a normal morning. Students arrive at school, teachers get ready for their classes, and everything seems completely ordinary. We are introduced to our main characters as they go through their everyday school lives. We meet Lee Chong-san as he arrives at school. He is an easygoing, happy boy. We see that he has a warm relationship with his mother, who runs the restaurant nearby. We also immediately see that Chong-san has feelings for An-jo, his childhood friend. He looks at her in a special way, though he never says anything about his feelings. We meet Nam On-jo as she talks with her friends. She is cheerful and friendly. Her relationship with Chong-san is shown as easy and natural, the way two people who have known each other their whole lives would be. We sense there might be something more between them, but neither of them has addressed it. We are introduced to Choi Nam-are as the serious and academic class president. She sits apart from the other students and focuses on her studies. She seems cold at first, but we sense there is more beneath her serious exterior. The bully situation. Very early in the episode, we see a scene that is important for understanding one of the show's major themes. We see a student being bullied by Yoon Gwinam and his group. The bullying is cruel and public. Other students see it happening, but most of them do nothing. This scene immediately tells us something about the school's social environment. Bullying is one of the central themes of All of Us Are Dead. The show is saying something important about this, that bullying is a kind of violence, and that the society and system that allows it to continue without stopping it bears some responsibility for the consequences. This theme will become more and more important as the story develops. The science lab incident. In one of the school's science labs, we see a mouse in a cage. The mouse is clearly not normal. It is twitching and behaving strangely. This is one of the animals that was infected during Cheol-su's experiments. The animal is very agitated and clearly under the influence of the virus. A student named Lee Jin-soo comes to the science lab. He is a quiet boy who has been a victim of bullying. While he is in the lab, the infected mouse bites him. This is the moment that starts everything. Lee Jin-soo is the first human to be infected with the zombie virus at the school. At first, Jin-soo does not realize what has happened. He simply feels pain from the bite. He goes about his day. But the virus begins working inside his body very quickly. The first transformation. As the school day continues, Jin-soo begins to feel very sick. He becomes confused and disoriented. His behavior starts to change. He becomes more agitated and aggressive. Some students notice that he is acting strangely but do not understand what is happening. Then the transformation happens. Jin-soo becomes a zombie. He loses his human mind completely and the virus takes full control. He attacks the first person he encounters, biting them. That person then also quickly begins to transform. The chain of infection has begun. The first few moments of the outbreak are chaotic and confusing. Students and teachers do not understand what is happening. They see people acting violently and biting others, but they do not know why. Is it a fight? Is someone going crazy? The truth is far worse than anything they could imagine. The outbreak spreads. Very quickly, the virus begins spreading through the school. Each new infected person turns and begins attacking others. The speed of the infection is one of the scariest things in the episode. In what feels like just a few minutes, the halls of the school go from normal to absolutely terrifying. Students run and scream. Teachers try to restore order without knowing what is happening. Some brave teachers try to help students escape or lock themselves in rooms. But the zombies keep spreading, moving through the corridors and classrooms of the school. Our main characters are scattered around the school when this starts. Chong-san, On-jo, Soo-hyuk, and others find themselves in different places and have to find their way to each other while avoiding the growing zombie horde. First escape attempts. At the end of episode 1, we see our main characters making desperate attempts to escape the immediate danger. Some of them manage to get together. Some are still separated. The zombie situation is getting worse by the minute. The episode ends on a very tense cliffhanger, with the characters in immediate danger and the school becoming increasingly overrun. This first episode is incredibly well made. It grabs your attention immediately and does not let go. The transition from a normal school day to a zombie nightmare happens very fast, which makes it feel even more shocking and real. Viewers who watched this episode found themselves immediately invested in the story and desperate to see what would happen next. Episode 2. Chaos and Confusion. The school in full panic. Episode 2 picks up right where Episode 1 left off. The school is now in complete chaos. Zombies are moving through the hallways, attacking anyone they can reach. Students and teachers are running, hiding, screaming, and fighting for their lives. The scenes in Episode 2 are very intense. The camera follows characters through the crowded hallways as they desperately try to escape the zombies. There are many close calls. People are bitten and turn into zombies in front of our eyes. It is very frightening and very emotional at the same time, because by now we care about these characters and we do not want to see them hurt. Groups form. In crisis situations, people naturally gather together in small groups. Episode 2 shows us how the main group of survivors begins to come together. Chong-san and An-jo find each other and start moving together. They encounter other students along the way and gradually build the group that will be the core of the show's main storyline. Namare is separated from her usual social circles and finds herself relying on Chong-san's group. This is actually good for her character development. Away from the academic pressure and social hierarchy of normal school life, she begins to show her true self. Soo-hyuk also finds the group. His physical strength and courage make him an immediate asset. He is not afraid to fight and he does so to protect the others. Finding shelter. The group needs to find a safe place to hide. Moving through the school is extremely dangerous because zombies are everywhere. They need a room they can lock from the inside, with enough space to breathe and think. After several terrifying moments and narrow escapes, they manage to get to a classroom and barricade the door. They use desks, chairs, and other furniture to block the door. They push everything heavy against it to stop the zombies from getting in. Inside this makeshift shelter, the characters begin to process what is happening. Some are in shock. Some are crying. Some are trying to think practically about what to do next. This is where we begin to see the different personalities and strengths of each character come out. Communication with the outside. One of the first things the students try to do is contact the outside world. They use their phones to call family members, text friends, and try to reach emergency services. Some calls get through. Some do not. The networks are becoming overwhelmed as news of the outbreak begins to spread. An-jo tries to reach her father. Chong-san tries to call his mother. Some students are able to get messages through to their families, while others cannot. The worry and fear in these moments is very relatable. In a disaster, the first thing anyone wants to do is reach the people they love. The outside world learns. Episode 2 also begins to show us what is happening outside the school. Police receive reports of violence at Hyosun High School. Emergency services are dispatched. But at first, no one truly understands what is happening. The initial reports are confused and contradictory. News cameras begin arriving at the school perimeter. People on social media start posting videos and messages. The news of the outbreak begins spreading through the internet and media even before the authorities fully understand the situation. This social media element of the story is very modern and realistic. First big loss. Episode 2 introduces us to the hard reality that not everyone will survive. Some characters we have met are bitten and turn into zombies. These early losses hit hard because they show that the show is not going to protect all its characters just to make the audience comfortable. Anyone can die. Anyone can turn. This raises the tension enormously. These early deaths also set up the emotional core of the show. Survival in All of Us Are Dead is never just about physical fighting. It is about grief, about loss, about what it means to watch someone you know become something terrifying and unrecognizable. Episode 3, Holding On. Life in the Barricaded Classroom. By Episode 3, the main group has found a relatively safe location in one of the school classrooms. They have barricaded the doors and windows as best they can. Now begins the long, hard work of simply surviving. The classroom is their world now. They cannot freely move through the school. Every trip outside the classroom is extremely dangerous. So they must use what they have inside the room. Food from students' lunchboxes, water from bottles, any supplies that were already in the room. The group begins to organize themselves. Namare's leadership qualities emerge naturally. She helps coordinate the group, make decisions, and keep people calm and focused. Even those who did not like her before begin to respect her now. Making weapons. The students realize they need weapons to defend themselves if zombies break through their barriers. They look around the classroom for anything they can use. They take desk legs, sharp objects from the art supplies, and various other items. Hari's archery training becomes incredibly valuable here. There is a school supply of archery equipment not far from their location. Getting to it is dangerous, but it is worth it. Arrows are perfect zombie fighting weapons because they can kill from a distance without making too much noise. The more noise you make, the more zombies you attract. Signs of the larger crisis. Through phone calls and internet connections, the students learn more about what is happening both inside and outside the school. They discover that the zombie outbreak is not just limited to one area of the school. It has spread throughout the entire building. There are hundreds of zombies inside the school now. They also learn that the outbreak has attracted national attention. News helicopters are flying over the school. The government is aware of the situation. But no one is coming to save them immediately. They are on their own for now. GWI Nam's transformation begins. Episode 3 is also where we begin to see GWI Nam's storyline develop in a darker direction. During the early chaos, GWI Nam was involved in a violent incident. He is bitten by a zombie, but like Namare, he does not fully turn. He becomes a half-zombie. But where Namare fights to maintain her humanity, GWI Nam embraces his new state. He is excited by his increased strength and his lack of pain. He does not fear the zombies. He begins to use his new abilities to pursue his own selfish and violent goals. He becomes a predator who moves through the zombie-infested school with a terrifying freedom that the human survivors do not have. Emotional moments. Amidst the action and survival planning, Episode 3 gives us some very touching emotional moments. Students talk about their families, their fears, their regrets. Some confess things they never said before because they were afraid they might not survive to say them otherwise. These moments of human connection in the middle of horror are what make All of Us Are Dead so special. The show never forgets that its characters are teenagers. Young people with their whole lives ahead of them, who are now facing something terrible and unfair. Their emotions are real and raw and completely understandable. Episode 4. The government responds. The authorities take control. Episode 4 expands the story significantly by giving us a much wider view of the situation. We spend more time watching what is happening outside the school, specifically how the government and military are responding to the outbreak. Senior government officials have been briefed on the situation. They know there is a zombie virus outbreak at a high school in Hyosun. They are trying to decide what to do. The decisions they make will have enormous consequences for the students still alive inside the school. The military arrives. Military forces are deployed around Hyosun High School. Soldiers set up a perimeter around the school. They block all the roads leading to the school. No one is allowed in or out of the zone around the school. The military also sets up a quarantine zone. People who were near the school and might have been exposed to the virus are being gathered and monitored. The government is trying to contain the outbreak and prevent it from spreading to the wider city. Parents' desperation. Outside the military perimeter, parents and family members have gathered. They know their children are inside the school. They watch helplessly from behind the military barriers as news comes of what is happening inside. Their fear and desperation are almost unbearable to watch. Anjo's father is among them. As a firefighter, he knows something about emergency response, but even he cannot get past the military barriers. He spends all his time trying to find a way to help his daughter while working within the system. This storyline gives the show a very human and emotional anchor in the outside world. While we care deeply about the students inside, we also feel the agony of the parents outside. The episode does a brilliant job of showing the crisis from multiple perspectives at the same time. Episode 4 also introduces us to the political dimension of the crisis. Government officials are making decisions not just based on what is right, but also based on what is politically safe for them. There are debates about how much to tell the public, how to manage the media, and what drastic measures might need to be taken. The appearance of Assemblywoman Park adds a political voice to the story. She is powerful and determined, and she has personal reasons for wanting the students saved. But she also operates in a world of political calculation and compromise. The show uses her character to comment on how government and politics sometimes fail people in crisis. Inside the school, strategy. Back inside the school, the surviving students are trying to be more strategic. They know help is not coming immediately. They need to make a plan for how to survive for an extended period of time and, when the opportunity comes, how to escape. The group begins mapping the school. They use their knowledge of the building to figure out where the zombies are concentrated and where there might be safer paths. They communicate with other small groups of survivors they discover in other parts of the school. A new group is discovered. One of the important things in episode 4 is the discovery that there are other groups of survivors in the school. Not all students are dead. Some have found shelter in other classrooms, the gymnasium, the library, and other parts of the building. Some of these groups have different leaders and different ideas about how to survive. This sets up future conflict and cooperation between different survivor groups. It also adds more characters to the story and shows different approaches to the same terrible situation. By episode 5, the reality of their situation is becoming very clear to the survivors. They have been barricaded inside the school for a while now. Their food and water supplies are running low. The physical and emotional toll of living in constant fear is starting to show on everyone. They must make difficult choices. Do they stay where they are and wait for rescue? Or do they risk moving through the zombie-infested school to find more supplies? Both options are dangerous. Staying means slowly running out of food. Moving means facing the zombies directly. The group decides to move. After much discussion and debate, the main group decides they must move. They need food, water, and better supplies. They also need to find a way to contact the rescue teams outside more effectively. Their phones are losing battery power. They need a way to charge them or find other communication tools. The plan to move through the school is carefully thought out. They assign roles to different people based on their strengths. Suhyuk will lead the fighting. Hari will use her bow and arrows from a distance. Others will carry supplies. Namare will use her quick thinking to navigate. Everyone has a job to do. The journey through the school. The journey through the zombie-infested school is one of the most tense and exciting sequences in the show up to this point. The group moves carefully and quietly through the corridors, trying not to attract attention. But inevitably, they encounter zombies and must fight. These fight scenes are intense and well choreographed. The students use improvised weapons, archery, and teamwork to defeat the zombies they encounter. But every fight carries risk. Every close call reminds us that one bite means death, or worse, turning into a zombie yourself. They also see the full extent of the devastation in the school. Classrooms and corridors that were once full of life are now dark, blood-stained, and overrun with the undead. It is a haunting visual that drives home the scale of the tragedy. Finding other survivors. During their journey, the main group encounters other surviving students. Some of these students join the main group. Others have their own plans and go their own way. Some have already been deeply traumatized and are barely functioning. One important discovery is a group that has found a significant food supply in the school cafeteria kitchen. Getting to this food supply becomes a priority. But the cafeteria is also heavily overrun with zombies, which means getting to the food will be a major challenge. GWI Nam becomes a real threat. Episode 5 is where GWI Nam truly becomes a terrifying villain. As a half-zombie, he can move through the zombie-infested school without being attacked by the zombies. Full zombies seem to recognize that he is partially one of them and leave him alone. This gives him enormous freedom of movement that the human survivors do not have. He uses this freedom to hunt down people he has a grudge against. His primary target becomes Chong-san. The reason goes back to an incident during the outbreak. GWI Nam did something terrible and Chong-san witnessed it. To protect himself and hide what he did, GWI Nam decides he must eliminate Chong-san. The cat and mouse dynamic between Chong-san and GWI Nam adds a compelling thriller element to the show that runs alongside the zombie survival story. In a school full of zombie threats, GWI Nam is a uniquely personal and human threat. Emotional turning points. Episode 5 also delivers some very powerful emotional moments. Students talk about what they miss from their normal lives. Simple things like hot food, their own beds, seeing their families, and the comfort of ordinary routine. These small details make the characters feel very real and human. There is also a moment where Chong-san and Anjo have a quiet conversation in the middle of all the chaos. Their deep connection is evident. They support each other without even needing to say much. These quiet moments between characters are just as important as the action scenes, because they remind us why we are rooting for these people to survive. Episode 6. New Dangers. The Half-Zombie Revelation. Episode 6 brings a major revelation that changes the game for everyone. The phenomenon of half-zombies becomes more widely known among the survivors. Namare has been hiding the fact that she was bitten and is changing, but it becomes impossible to hide anymore. When the others discover what has happened to Namare, the reactions are mixed. Some are afraid of her. Some want to push her away or even eliminate her, seeing her as a threat. The fear and uncertainty around her make the group dynamics very tense. But Soo-hyuk defends her. He refuses to let others treat her like a monster. He insists she is still Namare, still their friend, still a person. His defense of her is one of the most moving moments in the show. It shows real courage and real love, not the physical kind of bravery in fighting zombies, but the emotional courage of standing up for someone when others are against them. Namare's new abilities. As a half-zombie, Namare has some remarkable abilities. Her hearing is extraordinarily sharp. She can hear zombies approaching from much farther away than any human. Her sense of smell has also increased dramatically. She can detect the scent of blood and infection. These abilities make her incredibly valuable to the group. She can act as an early warning system. She can sense when zombies are coming before anyone else can see or hear them. This gives the group precious extra seconds to prepare or hide. Over time, she becomes one of the most important assets for the group's survival. But being a half-zombie is also very difficult for Namare personally. She has urges she must control. The virus inside her sometimes makes her feel the pull toward zombie-like behavior. She must constantly fight to maintain her human self. This internal struggle is one of the most compelling psychological elements in the show. Other groups in conflict. Episode 6 also shows us that conflict is not just coming from zombies. There is conflict between different groups of human survivors inside the school. Some groups have resources that others need. Some groups are led by people who are more selfish and willing to hurt others to protect themselves. This is one of the show's recurring themes. In extreme situations, Some people become better versions of themselves, while others become worse. The zombie outbreak brings out both the best and the worst in human nature. The good people fight harder to protect others. The bad people become more ruthless and dangerous. By the end of episode 6, the main group has come up with a new strategy. They decide they should try to reach the school's rooftop. From the roof, they can signal to the helicopters and military outside. They can also potentially be rescued by helicopter from the roof, which would avoid having to go through the zombie-filled lower floors. Getting to the roof will not be easy. The path there is full of dangers, but it represents hope, a possibility of escape that they have not had before. The group begins planning how to make this journey. Episode 7. The Road to Escape. Preparation for the Big Move. The 7th episode is largely about preparation and anticipation. The group knows they need to make a major move either toward the roof or toward the outside. They spend time gathering everything they need: weapons, food, medical supplies, and equipment for communication. There are long discussions about strategy and tactics. Different people have different ideas about the best approach. These discussions show us the characters' personalities very clearly. Some are bold risk-takers. Some are cautious planners. Some focus on protecting individuals while others think about the group as a whole. The military's dilemma. Outside the school, the military is facing a very serious dilemma. The outbreak has not been contained. There are signs that the virus could spread beyond the school into the wider city of Hyosin. If this happens, the consequences would be catastrophic. Senior military commanders and government officials are considering extreme options. Among these options is a military strike that would destroy the school entirely. The logic is brutal but simple. If you destroy the source of the outbreak, you stop it from spreading. But this would mean killing every survivor still inside the school. This is one of the most disturbing and thought-provoking aspects of the show. It asks, when is it acceptable to sacrifice some lives to save many others? This is a real ethical question that philosophers have debated for centuries, but the show puts it in a very concrete and emotional context that makes it hit much harder. Parents fight for their children. When rumors of the possible military strike begin to leak, the parents gathered outside the school barrier become even more desperate. They try to break through the military cordon. They make public appeals. They use social media to fight back against what the military is considering. Anjo's father is at the center of this fight. He is a man of action, not a politician or public figure, but his love for his daughter drives him to fight with everything he has. His storyline in this episode is incredibly moving. GWI-nam's pursuit. Inside the school, GWI-nam continues his terrifying hunt for Chong-san. He is now fully embracing his half-zombie nature. He is fast, strong, nearly impossible to hurt permanently, and absolutely relentless. He moves through the school like a predator, and Chong-san is his prey. The encounters between Chong-san and GWI-nam in this episode and the ones following are some of the most intense and dramatic scenes in the show. They represent a personal battle within the larger battle for survival. GWI-nam is everything Chong-san is not in physical terms. But Chong-san has something that GWI-nam has entirely lost: his humanity. A heartbreaking discovery. The group makes a heartbreaking discovery in episode 7. They find evidence of what happened to some of the students they had lost contact with earlier. Some have survived in terrible conditions. Others have not survived at all. These discoveries remind us of the human cost of the outbreak and make the urgency of escape even more real. The plan is set. By the end of episode 7, the plan for the major escape attempt is in place. The group knows the route they will take, who will do what, and what the backup plans are if things go wrong. Everyone is afraid, but everyone is also determined. They have been waiting for this moment. The episode ends with a sense of both dread and hope, two feelings that coexist constantly throughout this show. We know that what comes next will be dangerous and heartbreaking. But we also hope, with all our hearts, that some of these characters will make it out alive. Episode 8. Sacrifice. The hardest episode. Episode 8 is widely considered one of the most emotional and difficult episodes of the entire series. It is an episode of sacrifice, of loss, and of incredible bravery. Several characters make choices in this episode that show the very highest qualities of human nature, and some of these choices cost them everything. Chong-san's defining moments. Chong-san faces perhaps his hardest moments in this episode. He must continue fighting GWI while also trying to keep his friends safe. The physical and emotional toll of everything he has been through is visible on his face and in his actions. But Chong-san refuses to give up. He fights not because he is the strongest or the fastest, but because he has something worth fighting for: his friends, his family, and the life he wants to have outside the school. His determination in the face of impossible odds is deeply inspiring. Several characters in episode 8 perform acts of incredible selfless courage. Some put themselves in danger to buy others time to escape. Some make sacrifices they know will cost them their lives. These are not dramatic, heroic gestures in the Hollywood sense. They are quiet, deeply human moments of someone choosing others over themselves. Without giving away every specific detail, let us say that episode 8 makes very clear that the show is willing to say goodbye to characters we love. No one is truly safe. The show has earned our trust by being honest about the darkness of the situation, and it uses that trust in this episode to deliver some of its most powerful emotional blows. Namare at a crossroads. Namare faces a critical crossroads in this episode. Her half-zombie nature is tested severely. There are moments where she is pulled toward the zombie side of herself, where the virus inside her pushes her toward aggression and instinct rather than thought and control. Each time she pulls back from that edge, it is a victory of her human will over the virus. But these victories take enormous effort, and the episode asks us, how long can she keep winning this internal battle? How long before the virus wins? Soo-hyuk's unwavering belief in her is what gives her the strength to keep fighting for her humanity. Their relationship in this episode deepens in the most moving way possible. In the middle of all the horror, their connection is a reminder that love and loyalty are the most powerful forces there are. Outside the school, the military begins final preparations for its extreme option. The debate about whether to launch a strike has been resolved at the highest levels of government. The strike will happen. The question is now one of timing. This creates an enormous deadline pressure for everyone. The students inside the school must escape before the military acts. The parents outside the school must find a way to stop or delay the strike. And the rescue workers on the ground are caught between following orders and doing what they know is right. Grief and goodbye. Episode 8 also gives us moments of goodbye. Characters who have been together through everything share moments of connection and farewell. Some of these farewells are permanent. The grief in these moments is real and raw. The show handles death with great care and respect. When a character dies, we are given time to feel it. We are not rushed from one action sequence to the next without acknowledging the loss. This respect for its characters and its audience is one of the things that makes All of Us Are Dead so exceptional. Episode 9. The World Outside. The Bigger Picture. Episode 9 broadens our view considerably. While we have been focused on the school and the students inside, the world outside has been changing rapidly. The outbreak in Hyosin is no longer a local secret. It has become a national and international crisis. News channels around the world are covering the story. Foreign governments are watching and advising their citizens. Scientists and researchers are studying the virus from the information that is available. The scale of the situation has grown far beyond one school in one city. Hyosin under military control. The entire city area around Hyosan High School is now under strict military control. Regular civilian life has been severely disrupted. Residents have been evacuated from the areas closest to the school. Checkpoints are everywhere. The military presence is massive and intimidating. For the parents and family members still waiting for news of their children, this military control feels oppressive and frightening. They are being kept away from the situation by force. The information they receive is incomplete and often contradictory. Their frustration and fear have reached a breaking point. The rescue mission debate. Inside the military command structure, there is a debate about rescue missions. Some commanders and officials argue for sending in rescue teams to extract the survivors. Others argue this is too dangerous and would risk the lives of soldiers and potentially allow the virus to spread further. The people arguing for rescue have support from the parents and from some political officials like Assemblywoman Park. The people arguing against rescue have the logic of containment on their side. Both sides make their case, and the decision being made will determine whether the students inside the school live or die. Anjo's father takes action. Nam So-ju, Anjo's father, decides he cannot wait anymore for the system to save his daughter. He takes matters into his own hands. Using his knowledge as a firefighter and his determination as a father, he begins planning his own way to reach the school. His storyline in this episode is thrilling and deeply emotional. He is not a soldier or a special forces operative. He is just a father who loves his daughter. His courage and resourcefulness are extraordinary, and his emotional scenes, where he thinks about Anjo and what he would say to her if he got the chance, are among the most touching in the whole series. Inside the school, the final preparation. The surviving students inside the school are making their final preparations for the escape attempt. They know from phone calls and overheard communications that time is running out. They cannot wait much longer. The escape must happen soon. There is a beautiful scene in this episode where the group pauses for a moment of quiet connection. They share whatever food they have left. They talk. They laugh a little. They try to hold on to their humanity and their sense of each other as friends, not just as fellow survivors. This moment is a reminder that even in the darkest times, human beings reach for connection and warmth. The half-zombies meet. One of the most dramatically interesting moments in episode 9 is when Namare and GWI Nam encounter each other directly. Two half-zombies, one trying to maintain her humanity and one who has abandoned his entirely. Their confrontation is charged with meaning. GWI Nam sees Namare as someone he can use or potentially as a threat to his plans. Namare sees GWI Nam as a cautionary tale of what she could become if she lets the virus win. Their meeting is brief but very significant, setting up even bigger confrontations to come. The clock is ticking. Episode 10 creates a tremendous sense of urgency. Everything is happening at once, and time is running out for everyone. The military's timeline for its extreme action is shortening. The survivors inside the school are at their physical and emotional limits. Parents outside are becoming more desperate by the hour. The pacing of this episode is extraordinary. The show cuts between multiple storylines, each one building tension to an almost unbearable degree. But the show manages this complexity with skill, making sure each storyline feels urgent and important without losing track of any of them. The escape attempt begins. The main group of survivors begins their escape attempt in earnest. This is what they have been planning for. They move through the school with purpose and determination. But of course, nothing goes entirely according to plan. Obstacles arise. Zombies appear in unexpected places. Routes they thought were clear are blocked. The escape sequence is filled with action, close calls, and heartbreak. Some things go right. Some things go terribly wrong. The group must be flexible and adapt on the fly. Their teamwork is tested constantly. Unexpected allies. During the escape attempt, the group encounters some unexpected help. Other survivors, some from groups they had known about and some completely new, join them or assist them at critical moments. These moments of unexpected solidarity are very moving. People who were strangers to each other before the outbreak risk their lives for each other now. This speaks to one of the show's most hopeful messages, that even in the worst of human disasters, kindness and solidarity emerge. Not everyone becomes selfish or cruel. Many people choose to help, to sacrifice, to care for strangers. This is what makes the show ultimately hopeful despite all its darkness. The key confrontation. Episode 10 builds toward a major confrontation between Chong-san and GWI-nam. Their personal battle has been developing through the entire series, and now it is approaching its climax. The animosity between them represents more than just a personal conflict. It represents the difference between choosing humanity and choosing brutality. GWI-nam is everything the virus and cruelty can produce. He is strength without conscience, power without compassion. Chong-san is everything that fighting for your humanity means. Weaker in many ways, but driven by love, friendship, and the desire to protect others. Their clash is one of the most symbolic as well as one of the most physically dramatic in the show. The emotional toll. By episode 10, the emotional toll on the characters is enormous. These are young teenagers who have seen things no person should have to see. They have fought, bled, lost friends, and survived things that would break most adults. The strain shows in every scene. But alongside the exhaustion and grief, there is also something else. A fierce, burning determination to survive. The very fact that they are still here, still fighting, still looking out for each other, is itself a kind of victory against the darkness. Their refusal to give up is one of the most powerful things about this show. Military action imminent. Outside the school, it becomes clear that the military's extreme action is now very close to happening. Final orders are being given. The countdown has begun. If the survivors inside the school cannot escape soon, they may not have any chance at all. The episode ends at a peak of tension. The escape is underway. The military is moving. Time has nearly run out, and we do not know who will make it and who will not. It is one of the most gripping episode endings of the entire series. Episode 11. The final fight. Everything on the line. Episode 11 is the penultimate episode of the season, and it is where almost everything comes to its dramatic conclusion. The escape attempt is fully underway. The military is making its final preparations. Parents outside are in absolute agony. And inside the school, the survivors are fighting as hard as they have ever fought. The battle at the roof. The plan to reach the roof of the school comes to its critical moment. The group fights through the final obstacles between them and the rooftop. The roof represents freedom, the ability to signal rescue helicopters and be seen from outside. Getting there is everything. The fight to reach the roof is exhausting and costly. More members of the group are lost. The zombies are relentless, and GWI-nam is still pursuing, still hunting, still threatening everything they are trying to accomplish. The final Chong-san and GWI-nam showdown. The climactic confrontation between Chong-san and GWI-nam finally happens in episode 11. It is one of the most dramatic and emotionally charged sequences in the entire show. The fight takes place in a very dangerous area of the school, with zombies all around them and the military strike approaching. What happens in this fight is devastating and heroic at the same time. Chong-san fights not just for himself but for all his friends, for Anjo whom he loves, for the future they might have. The outcome of this battle is one of the show's most heartbreaking and most unforgettable moments. It shows the very high price that survival sometimes demands. We will not describe every detail of what happens, but we will say this. Chong San's story in this episode is handled with tremendous emotional honesty and respect. His journey throughout the show has been about growing from an ordinary boy into a true hero. Episode 11 is where that journey reaches its final destination. Namare's choice. Namare faces her biggest choice yet in episode 11. As a half-zombie, she has the ability to do things no human survivor can do. She can fight zombies directly. She can move in ways that humans cannot. And she can help her friends in ways that require her to lean into her zombie side rather than resist it. Her decision to fully embrace what she is in order to help her friends save themselves is a pivotal moment. It is terrifying and powerful and deeply moving. She is not giving up her humanity by doing this. She is expressing her humanity in the most profound way, by using everything she is to protect those she loves. Outside the school, the final drama. Outside the school, the drama reaches its peak as well. The military move is about to happen. Anjo's father is making his final desperate effort to reach his daughter. Assemblywoman Park is using all her remaining political capital to delay the military action. These outside storylines converge in episode 11 in ways that are alternately heartbreaking and triumphant. Some things that the outside characters have been working toward succeed. Some fail. The emotional roller coaster of this episode is almost exhausting, but in the best possible way. The military strike and its aftermath. The military strike on Hyosun High School does eventually happen in this episode. It is a moment of tremendous destruction and finality. It is terrifying, but it is also, in a terrible way, necessary. The show does not shy away from showing the consequences of this action. But who survived? Who made it out before the strike? Who was inside when it happened? These are the questions that episode 11 answers, and the answers are both devastating and moving. The show has earned every single emotion it delivers in these final moments of the penultimate episode. Episode 12 begins with a significant time jump. We are now 4 months after the events of the zombie outbreak at Hyosun High School. The immediate crisis is over. But the world is very different from what it was before. The city of Hyosun itself has been significantly affected. Parts of it were destroyed in the military action. Other parts have been quarantined for decontamination. The school itself is gone. The area around it is still restricted. But life for the rest of the city and the country has begun to return to something resembling normal. We see the survivors from the school trying to rebuild their lives. For those who made it out, there is the enormous task of processing what they went through. They have survived something that most people cannot even imagine. They carry the weight of all the friends and classmates they lost. Anjo is among the survivors. She is dealing with grief and trauma, but she is alive. Her reunion with her father is one of the most emotionally satisfying moments in the entire show. After watching him fight so hard to save her, seeing them together is beautiful and cathartic. Suhayok has survived. He carries with him deep feelings for Namare, whose fate is one of the central questions of the final episode. His emotional journey in this episode is about grief, hope, and uncertainty. Other characters who survived are also shown rebuilding. Some have gone back to school elsewhere. Some are dealing with the psychological aftermath of the trauma through therapy and support. The show treats this recovery process with sensitivity and realism. The investigation. In the aftermath of the outbreak, a major investigation is underway. Who created the virus? How did the outbreak start? Could it happen again? These are questions that officials, scientists, and the public all want answered. The story of teacher Cheol-soo and his experiments becomes public knowledge. The investigation reveals the full story of the Jonas virus, how it was created, why it was created, and how it escaped containment. The revelations are troubling and raise many difficult questions about ethics, responsibility, and the limits of what science should do. The fact that a teacher created this virus out of a desire to help his son who was being bullied makes the story even more complicated. It does not excuse what happened, but it makes it human. It shows how good intentions, combined with scientific power and lack of proper oversight, can lead to catastrophic consequences. The question of Namare. One of the biggest questions in episode 12 is, what happened to Choi Namare? After the events of episode 11, her fate was left uncertain. In the final episode we get our answer, but it is not a simple one. Namare appears to Soo-hyuk in one of the most poignant scenes of the entire series. She is alive, but she has chosen not to return to the human world. She exists in a kind of liminal space between the human and zombie worlds. As a half-zombie, she does not fully belong to either side. But she is not lost. She is present. She tells Soo-hyuk that she is watching over others like herself, other half-zombies who are trying to hold onto their humanity. She has found a purpose that transcends the normal human world. Her farewell to Soo-hyuk is one of the most beautiful and heartbreaking scenes in the show. They cannot be together in the ordinary way, but their connection, their love is real and it endures. It is a moment of bittersweet beauty that perfectly captures the show's emotional truth. Namare's invitation. In the very final moments of episode 12, Namare looks at the group of survivors with a fire burning behind them and says something that has been endlessly discussed by fans. She seems to invite them to a different kind of fight, a fight that goes beyond survival in a school, a fight for all half-zombies and those in between. This final moment is deliberately ambiguous. Is it setting up season 2? Is it saying that the fight between humanity and the darkness is never truly over? Is it suggesting that people who have experienced terrible things and survived them have a responsibility to help others who are going through the same? The ending leaves many questions open, which is typical of a show designed to have a second season. But even taken on its own, the ending is emotionally satisfying. It honors the journeys of all the characters and ends with a note of cautious, complex hope. The world remembers. The final episode also shows us how the world has tried to make sense of what happened in Hyosin. Memorials have been set up for those who died. Official reports have been released. The story of the students who survived has become known and they are treated as heroes. But the show is honest about the fact that official recognition and public sympathy do not heal private grief. The survivors carry their losses with them. The friends they lost, the experiences they went through, the things they did to survive, these are not things that can be easily processed or forgotten. And yet they are alive. And being alive means having the chance to build something new. The show ends with this quiet, hard-won message. Survival is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of a different one. The big themes. What is the show really about? All of Us Are Dead is much more than just a zombie show. Like the best works in any genre, it uses its fantastical elements to talk about real things in the real world. Let us look at the major themes the show explores. Theme 1. Bullying and its consequences. Bullying is perhaps the most central theme of the entire show. It is the reason the zombie virus was created in the first place. Teacher Cheol-soo made the virus because his son was being bullied and he wanted to help him. The whole catastrophe of the show flows directly from this act of bullying. The show is saying something very clear and very serious. Bullying is not a small thing. It is not something that can be dismissed as kids being kids or harmless teasing. Bullying causes real, serious pain. It damages people. And in the most extreme interpretation that the show offers, the pain caused by bullying can set off a chain of events with devastating consequences. Gwi Nam is the ultimate representation of bullying's poison. He was a bully before the outbreak, and the zombie crisis gives him the power to become something even worse. The show connects his cruelty before the outbreak to his monstrous behavior during it. He was always capable of this. The zombie virus just removed the social constraints that were holding him back. The show asks its young audience, many of whom are probably students themselves, to take bullying seriously, to stand up when they see it, to understand that their silence in the face of bullying makes them part of the problem. This is a message with real-world importance and relevance. Friendship is the emotional heart of All of Us Are Dead. The relationships between Chongsan, Onjo, Soo-hyuk, Namare, Mi-jin, Hari and the others are what make the show so emotionally powerful. In the face of the zombie outbreak, these friendships are tested to their absolute limits. And almost without exception, the characters in the main group prove that their friendships are real and deep and worth everything. They refuse to leave each other behind. They keep fighting because they cannot bear to lose the people they care about. The show suggests that friendship and loyalty are not just nice to have in a crisis. They are survival tools. The group survives together because they work together. They help each other through moments of despair. They push each other to keep going when giving up would be easier. The relationship between Soo-hyuk and Namare takes this to its most beautiful extreme. Soo-hyuk's loyalty to Namare does not waver even when she becomes something that others fear and reject. He sees her, the real her, beneath everything that has changed. That kind of love and loyalty is one of the most precious things any human being can offer another. Theme 3: Authority, Government, and the Individual. All of Us Are Dead has a lot to say about how governments and authority structures respond to crises. The picture it paints is complicated and not entirely flattering. On one hand, the government and military do respond to the outbreak. They deploy resources. They try to contain the spread. They make difficult decisions under enormous pressure. Not everyone in positions of authority is corrupt or cruel. Many are trying their best. On the other hand, the government's response is also shown to be slow, bureaucratic, and sometimes cruel. The consideration of a military strike that would kill the survivors inside the school shows the extreme utilitarian calculus that government decision-makers sometimes use, where individual lives become numbers in an equation rather than beloved human beings. The parents and rescue workers who fight against this, who refuse to accept that the students are expendable, represent the moral counterforce. Their message is, every life matters. No one should be sacrificed for political convenience or bureaucratic caution. The show does not offer easy answers. It acknowledges that governing in a crisis is genuinely hard. But it insists that the people making decisions must never lose sight of the individual human beings their decisions affect. This is a powerful and timely message. Theme 4: What makes us human? The half-zombie concept is the show's most philosophically interesting idea. By having characters like Namare and GWI exist in the space between human and zombie, the show asks a fundamental question. What makes a person human? Is it our biology? Namare is biologically changing. She has zombie DNA inside her now, but she is clearly still human in every way that matters. She thinks, feels, loves, and chooses. Is it our choices? GWI chooses evil and cruelty. He was human biologically for most of the show, but in his behavior, he was already something monstrous before the virus changed him. The virus just completed a process that his own moral choices had already begun. The show suggests that humanity is defined by our choices, our connections, and our capacity for love and empathy. As long as Namare can love, think, and choose, she is human. When GWI abandoned love, thought, and choice in favor of violence and domination, he was already less than fully human in the ways that matter most. This is a profound and moving philosophical argument made through the language of zombie horror. It is one of the reasons why the show resonates so deeply with audiences around the world. Theme 5: The injustice faced by young people. All of Us Are Dead is also a story about the injustices faced by young people in Korean society specifically, but also in many societies around the world. The students in the show are under enormous pressure. Academic pressure, social pressure, the pressure of bullying that adults fail to stop, the pressure of a society that often dismisses their problems as unimportant. And then, when the zombie outbreak happens, the students are largely abandoned by the adult world. The government and military prioritize strategic considerations over the lives of these young people. The adults on the outside fight to save their children, but the institutions of society are slow and inadequate. There is a profound sense in the show that these young people have been let down by the adults and institutions that should have protected them. The zombie outbreak is an extreme metaphor for a real feeling, that young people are often expected to navigate a dangerous world without adequate support or protection from those who should know better. Theme 6. Survival guilt and trauma. For those who survive, the aftermath of the outbreak is explored with great sensitivity in episode 12. The show acknowledges that survival is not simply a happy ending. Surviving a catastrophe, especially one where many of your friends and classmates died, comes with its own heavy burden. Survival guilt, the feeling that you do not deserve to be alive when others are not, is a real psychological phenomenon that affects many trauma survivors. The show hints at this in its final episode. The survivors must find a way to honor those they lost while also allowing themselves to live and to heal. The show does not pretend this is easy, but it does suggest it is possible. The final episode shows characters who are hurting, but also characters who are building new lives, carrying their grief as part of who they are, not as something that defines them entirely. Setting the zombie outbreak in a school is a brilliant choice that gives the show enormous emotional power. A school is a place that almost everyone has experience with. We all know what it feels like to walk down a school hallway, to sit in a classroom, to eat lunch in a cafeteria. When the show transforms this familiar, safe-feeling environment into a place of horror, the contrast is deeply unsettling. The zombie outbreak happens in a place that should be protected and safe. The violation of that safety is part of what makes the show so disturbing and so impactful. There is also something specific about the Korean educational environment that the show uses very effectively. Korean high school students face enormous academic pressure. Their identities and futures are often tied to their performance in school. The show takes all of that social pressure and academic anxiety and literalizes it into an extreme survival situation. The hierarchies and social dynamics of the school, the popular students, the bullies, the class president, the troublemakers, are also literalized through the outbreak. In a zombie apocalypse, the old hierarchies dissolve. Academic performance no longer matters. What matters is courage, skill, and the ability to work with others. The show subverts the school's normal power structures in a cathartic and meaningful way. The zombie design. The zombies in All of Us Are Dead have a distinctive design that sets them apart from many other zombie stories. They are fast-moving rather than slow. They are extremely aggressive and relentless. They move in large groups called hordes that are almost impossible to stop once they get going. The speed and aggression of the zombies creates a very different kind of tension than slow-moving zombie stories. You cannot simply outrun or hide from these zombies for very long. They find you. They come in overwhelming numbers. The only effective strategies are to fight, to find defensible positions, or to move silently and carefully. The visual design of the zombies is also distinctive. They are former students, teachers, school staff, people the survivors knew. This means that fighting or avoiding zombies is not abstract. Every zombie was once a person. Some were people the survivors knew and cared about. This adds a layer of tragedy to every encounter with the undead. The acting. The acting in All of Us Are Dead is outstanding across the board. This is particularly impressive because much of the cast consists of relatively young and less experienced actors playing the student roles. The emotional range they demonstrate, from ordinary teenage moments to extreme grief and terror, is remarkable. Yoon Chan-young as Chong-san brings an enormous amount of heart and authenticity to the central role. His performance in the most emotional scenes is genuinely moving. Park Ji-hoo as An-jo is equally strong, conveying deep emotion with subtle and honest expression. Cho E-hyun as Nam-ra has perhaps the most challenging role in the show, having to portray a character who is transforming internally while trying to maintain her composure outwardly. Her performance is nuanced and deeply affecting. Yoo In-soo as GWI Nam deserves special mention for his portrayal of villainy. He makes GWI Nam genuinely terrifying, but he also makes him believable as a human who chose evil rather than just a cartoon monster. It is a performance of real menace and craft. The direction and visual style. The direction of All of Us Are Dead is excellent. The directors, Lee Jae-kyu and Kim Nam-soo, bring enormous energy and skill to the action sequences while also finding the quiet, intimate moments that give the show its emotional depth. The camera work in the action sequences is dynamic and immersive. You feel the chaos and danger of the zombie attacks viscerally. But the same directors are also capable of finding great stillness in the quieter moments between characters. The visual contrast between the explosive action and the quiet emotional scenes creates a compelling rhythm throughout the show. The production design is also worth noting. The school looks completely real, from its ordinary classrooms to its athletic facilities to its science labs. When it is transformed by the zombie outbreak, the contrast with its normal state is stark and effective. The visual storytelling throughout the show is of a very high standard. The music. The musical score of All of Us Are Dead contributes enormously to its emotional impact. The music range from driving, urgent compositions during action sequences to quiet, melancholy pieces during emotional moments. The score knows when to build tension and when to let the emotions breathe. There are several pieces of music in the show that have become closely associated with particular emotional moments. Fans of the show often describe certain scenes as being made even more powerful by the music accompanying them. The collaboration between the visual direction and the musical composition is very tight and effective throughout. The pacing. With 12 episodes of roughly 1 hour each, All of Us Are Dead has approximately 12 hours of content. This gives the show enough time to develop its characters deeply while also delivering on the action and survival elements of the story. The pacing is generally excellent. The show does not rush its character development, but it also does not drag. The zombie action is thrilling without overwhelming the story. The outside storylines are given enough time to breathe and develop without feeling like interruptions to the main school storyline. Some viewers feel that certain middle episodes slow down a little compared to the explosive opening and the emotional finale. But these slower moments serve an important purpose. They give us time to know and love the characters so that when bad things happen to them, we truly feel it. How is this different from other zombie shows? Zombie stories have been popular in movies and television for many decades. Films like Night of the Living Dead and the Romero series, the TV show The Walking Dead, and Korean predecessors like Train to Busan have all made their mark. So what makes All of Us Are Dead different and special? The age of the characters. Most zombie stories focus on adult survivors. All of Us Are Dead is specifically about young people, teenagers, and this makes a very significant difference. Teenagers in a zombie apocalypse face all the challenges that adults face, but they also face them with less life experience, less physical capability in some cases, and all the additional emotional complexity of adolescence. The characters in All of Us Are Dead are not just fighting to survive. They are also, in the middle of all of this, still teenagers with teenage emotions, first loves, social anxieties, and the uncertainty of who they are and who they want to be. This combination of teenage emotional reality with extreme survival horror creates something unique and very affecting. The school setting. The school setting, as discussed above, gives the show a very specific and powerful emotional context. The school is not just a setting. It is a symbol of many things. Youth, potential, social hierarchy, academic pressure, and the transition from childhood to adulthood. All of these symbolic layers make the zombie outbreak in this specific setting much richer than it would be in a more generic environment. Many zombie stories explain the zombie outbreak vaguely or not at all. All of Us Are Dead is very specific about where the virus came from and why. The fact that it was created by a grieving, worried parent trying to help his bullied child gives the whole story a deeply human origin that distinguishes it from many other zombie narratives. This specificity of origin serves the thematic purposes of the show. The virus is not an act of God or a random mutation. It is the direct result of human pain, human response to that pain, and human failure to think through the consequences of one's actions. This makes the whole story a commentary on human society and human nature, not just a survival thriller. The half-zombie concept. The concept of the half-zombie is not entirely unique to this show, but All of Us Are Dead develops it with unusual depth and emotional sophistication, using it to explore questions of identity, humanity, and choice gives the show a philosophical dimension that many zombie stories lack. Namare's story in particular is more emotionally complex than most zombie transformation stories. Usually, being bitten means you are going to become a zombie. Full stop. The question of what it means to be bitten but not fully transform, to exist on the border between human and monster, to have to choose every day what you are going to be, is genuinely fascinating and deeply resonant. The social commentary. All of Us Are Dead is very directly engaged with social issues. Bullying, academic pressure, government failure, class inequality, and the experiences of young people in Korean society. While these themes are present in many zombie stories to some degree, the Korean context gives them particular specificity and sharpness. Korean society has well-documented issues with extreme academic pressure on young people, with bullying in schools, and with a very demanding social hierarchy. The show uses the zombie outbreak to put pressure on all of these issues and examine them in an extreme light. This is social commentary using genre fiction, and it is done with real intelligence and care. Looking forward, what might Season 2 bring? Netflix has confirmed that All of Us Are Dead will have a second season. Based on the ending of Season 1 and the way the story has been developed, there are many exciting possibilities for where the story might go. The half-zombie society. Namare's final scene, in which she appears to be leading or watching over a group of half-zombies, is the most obvious setup for Season 2. Who are these half-zombies? How have they survived? How are they organizing themselves? What do they want? The idea of a community of half-zombies, people who exist between the human and zombie worlds, is a fascinating premise for a second season. It raises all sorts of questions about identity, belonging, and what kind of society can be built by people who have been excluded from the normal human world. The surviving students' lives. Season 2 will presumably also follow what happens to the human survivors as they try to rebuild their lives. How do you return to normal life after what they went through? How do you continue your education, your social life, your future plans, when you have experienced something so extreme? The psychological and emotional aftermath of the outbreak will be rich territory for the show to explore. There are also likely to be ongoing consequences in the wider world. The zombie outbreak in Hyosin has changed Korean society in some ways. How those changes play out is full of dramatic possibility. New threats. Season 2 will almost certainly introduce new threats and challenges. Are there other outbreaks in other locations? Is the Jonas virus being studied by unscrupulous parties who might try to weaponize it? Are there more half-zombies out there who have been surviving alone? The world of All of Us Are Dead has been established with enough depth and internal logic that there are many directions it can go. The show has built a very solid foundation, and a second season has a lot of excellent material to work with. The return of key characters. Viewers are of course most excited about the characters they love. The confirmed return of characters like Anjo, Soo Hyuk, and potentially Namare will be central to Season 2's emotional appeal. How have they changed? How have they grown? What is their new normal? The show has been very careful about how it uses its characters and how it handles their arcs. Season 2 can be expected to continue this careful, character-focused storytelling. The relationships between the survivors and the new relationships they might form will be at the heart of whatever comes next. The show's impact. Why did the world love it? Global reception. All of Us Are Dead was one of the most watched Korean shows on Netflix since Squid Game, which came out in 2021. It was watched in more than 90 countries and reached the #1 spot on Netflix in dozens of those countries. It was especially popular in South Korea itself, Japan, Southeast Asia, and many Western countries. The show demonstrated yet again that Korean content has a truly global audience. Korean entertainment, driven by K-pop music, Korean films like Parasite, and Korean TV dramas, has become one of the most powerful cultural forces in the world entertainment industry. All of Us Are Dead was a major part of this wave. Fan response. The fan response to All of Us Are Dead was enormous and passionate. Social media was flooded with discussions, theories, fan art, and emotional reactions to the show's most powerful moments. The deaths of certain characters were especially widely mourned online, with fans expressing their grief with sincerity and depth. Characters like Mi-jin, who is funny, loud, and heroic, became especially beloved. Fan communities celebrated her as a representation of a kind of female character that Korean drama does not always feature. Physically strong, emotionally bold, and absolutely herself without apology. The relationship between Soo Hyuk and Namare also generated enormous fan enthusiasm. Their love story, beautiful and tragic and complicated by Namare's half-zombie nature, is exactly the kind of complex, emotionally rich romance that engages audiences deeply. Beyond popular success, All of Us Are Dead received strong critical recognition. Critics praised its ambitious scope, strong performances, and willingness to engage with serious themes through genre entertainment. It was recognized as evidence of the continued growth and excellence of Korean television drama. The show was compared favorably to other landmark Korean genre works. It was seen as continuing and extending the tradition established by films like Train to Busan, which used zombie horror to explore Korean social issues. All of Us Are Dead brought this tradition to Netflix and to a global audience, making it one of the most significant Korean television productions of its era. The show also sparked real cultural conversations. In Korea and beyond, discussions about the show's themes of bullying, academic pressure, and government failure resonated with viewers in different ways depending on their own experiences and contexts. In Korean schools, there were reportedly discussions about the show's themes of bullying. The show's message that bullying is serious and has real consequences was taken seriously by many educators and students. This real-world impact is one of the measures of great storytelling. When a piece of fiction changes how people think and talk about real issues. Simple summary. The story in short words. If you want a very simple summary of All of Us Are Dead to share with a friend, here it is. A science teacher creates a virus to help his bullied son become braver. The virus escapes and starts turning people into zombies at a high school in Korea. Students are trapped inside the school. A group of friends fights together to survive. They must fight zombies, a dangerous half-zombie bully, and even the military, which wants to destroy the school to stop the virus spreading. Some students survive and some do not. The survivors must rebuild their lives after a terrible experience. One student who became a half-zombie chooses to protect others like herself rather than return to normal human society. A second season is coming. That is the basic story. But as this document has shown, there is so much more to it than that. The characters, the themes, the emotions, the social commentary, and the sheer quality of the storytelling all combine to make All of Us Are Dead one of the most remarkable and impactful shows of recent years. Glossary. Simple definitions. Here are simple definitions for some of the important words and ideas in the show. Zombie. A person who has been infected by the virus and has lost their human mind. Zombies only want to bite and attack others. They are dangerous, fast, and do not feel pain. Half-zombie. A person who was bitten by a zombie but did not fully turn. They keep their human mind and feelings but gain some zombie abilities like great strength and no fear. Namare and GWI are half-zombies. Jonas virus. The fictional virus in the show that turns people into zombies. It was created by the science teacher Cheol-soo. Quarantine zone. An area that is sealed off from the rest of the world to stop a disease from spreading. The military creates a quarantine zone around the school. Horde. A large group of zombies moving together. Hordes are very dangerous because they are impossible to fight alone. Hyosun High School. The school where the story takes place. It is in the fictional city of Hyosun in South Korea. Outbreak. When a disease or virus spreads very quickly among many people. The zombie virus outbreak is what the whole show is about. Survival. Staying alive when something dangerous is happening. The show is fundamentally about survival, but also about what makes survival worth fighting for. Barricade. Blocking a door or entrance with heavy objects to stop something from getting through. The students barricade classroom doors to keep zombies out. Final thoughts. Why you should watch this show. All of Us Are Dead is a show that works on many levels at the same time. On the surface, it is a thrilling zombie survival story with exciting action, frightening monsters, and desperate escapes. This alone makes it very entertaining. But beneath the surface, it is a show about young people, about the challenges they face, about friendship and love and sacrifice, about what it means to hold on to your humanity when everything around you is turning monstrous. These deeper themes give the show real emotional weight and meaning. The show also says important things about the world we live in, about bullying, about how governments respond to crises, about who is valued and who is expendable in society, about the responsibilities that come with power, whether that is the power of a scientist, a politician, or a military commander. Most importantly, All of Us Are Dead is made with genuine care and skill. The people who created it believed in the story they were telling. The actors gave everything to their roles. The result is something that audiences around the world recognized as special, something that stayed with them long after the final episode ended. If you have not yet watched All of Us Are Dead and you enjoy stories about survival, friendship, courage, and the best and worst of human nature, it is absolutely worth your time. Have tissues ready because you will cry. Have something to hold on to because you will be scared. But most of all, prepare to be moved, inspired, and reminded of why stories matter. The characters of Chong-san, Onjo, Namare, Soo-hyuk, Mi-jin, Hari, and all the others deserve to be remembered. Their story is a gift, dark and painful but ultimately beautiful, about what it means to be human in the hardest of times.